Supply chain management is the management of the flow of goods or services involving the movement and storage of raw materials, work in process inventory, and of finished goods from point of origin to point of consumption. An area that businesses often fail to notice or incorporate into their business planning is the cost of carrying inventory. Firms are aware that inventory costs money to purchase, that much is obvious. However, the costs associated with inventory go far beyond that. This presentation will provide an outline on inventory carrying costs, ICC, its primary components, and strategies businesses can implement to reduce these costs. Basically, ICC is a key performance metric that is used to evaluate the amount of cash tied up in inventory. It is a cost that businesses will incur whilst holding and storing inventory. The rate is often expressed as a percentage of inventory value and may be evaluated for the entire firm for specific product categories, specific regions, and for specific time periods. The rate may include taxes, employee costs, depreciation, insurance, and the cost of replacing inventory. A rule of thumb employed by many logistics experts is that the ICC is roughly 25% of inventory value on hand. There are four components that make up ICC: capital costs, inventory service costs, storage space costs, and inventory risk costs. The capital cost typically comprises 60% of the ICC and is reflective of the monetary figure the inventory, capital, should return if it was put into another investment that had similar risks associated with it. Owning inventory means there is capital or cash flow tied up in the inventory. So long as the inventory is being carried, i.e. not turned into sales, this is lost cash flow, which means that a firm lacks this money to invest elsewhere and reap a return on investment. Storage costs, naturally, are expenses incurred to help keep inventory safely organized in a particular place, for example, a warehouse. These costs comprise fixed and variable costs, including rent or mortgage on storage space, electricity, insurance of goods, taxes, and depreciation. The longer inventory is stored, the higher the cost to the business. Storage costs account for approximately 8% of ICC. The third component of ICC is service and handling costs, which reflects the insurance on goods and the physical organization, management, movement, and packing of the inventory, generally by employees of the business or a third party. Service and handling costs are directly proportional with the time the inventory is stored as well as the amount of inventory. The greater the inventory, the greater the premiums on insurance and manpower required to handle it. This also accounts for roughly 8% of total ICC. The final component is known as the cost of risks. Inventory being stored is inevitably at risk, and this is a cost that firms should build into the carrying costs of a product. Risks may include shrinkage, inventory becoming obsolete or outdated, expiring before it can be sold, acts of God, and theft. This is a very real cost to businesses, estimated to account for approximately 24% of ICC. The natural next question is how a firm may lower these costs. Firstly, it should be noted that the 25% figure referred to earlier is only a rough estimate across many businesses in many industries. Often the first mistake a firm makes is to rely upon a rough estimate such as this rather than computing their own costs, which are unique to their individual operations. Secondly, a firm might consider streamlining storage space to increase efficiency. This might include employing knowledgeable foremen for a warehouse, installing a mezzanine floor, and/or preventing double handling of inventory once in the storage space. A firm might also investigate pricing ICC into customer contracts, particularly those that are long-term. Specifying the duration that the inventory may remain in a firm's storage is a useful way of ensuring that costs do not run high if, for example, the customer is not ready to take delivery of goods. The last strategy I will touch upon would be to move on from dead stock. This is potentially the most important. As mentioned at the start of the presentation, having cash tied up in inventory means that this capital cannot be put to use elsewhere, and inventory carrying costs generally increase over time. If a stock is not able to be moved onto a customer, it should be dispensed with as a matter of urgency. Studies show that up to 65% of companies either do not account for inventory carrying costs or grossly underestimate them. This is a potentially catastrophic organisational failure. Firms should be aware of these costs and have controls in place in order to protect their bottom line. Thank you.